Ohai. Pekanbaru, the city in Indonesia on the island of Sumatra. Administrative center of the province of Rio. The territory of the city is allocated in an independent administrative unit, municipality. Cat. The population, following the results of a national census of 2010, makes 897,768 people. The area as of 2010, 632.26 km. It is located in the central part of the island of Sumatra at distance about 120 km from the coast of the Strait of Malacca and about 200 km from the coast of the Indian Ocean. There is on both riverbank Siak. The national structure of the population is very various. Representatives of nationality to a Minangkabau, Malayans, Javanese, Bataki are most numerous. Primary religion of citizens, Islam of Sunni sense. It is based at the beginning of the 17th century under the name Senapalan. I received the modern name in 1784. I settled down in the territory of the Sultanate Siak, which was at the beginning of the existence in vassal dependence on the Malayan Sultanate Johor, later in colonial dependence on the Netherlands. At the end of the beginning of the 19th century, I was the capital of a sultanate. During the Netherlands colonization, I became the large center of production of coffee and natural rubber, later the mining industry. During the Japanese occupation during World War II was an important strong point of the Japanese troops, the center of large-scale forced labor of prisoners of war and local population. Was a part of Indonesia in 1945, after voluntary transfer by the Sultan Siaka of sovereignty over the possession to the authorities of the Republic. Since 1957 as a part of the province of Rio. Since 1959 is her administrative center. Differs in dynamic economic development. In the city, large enterprises of oil processing and chemical industry, large river port, the international airport Sultan Sharif Qasim II are located. There are several higher education institutions, one of the public libraries, largest in the country, and one of the stadiums, largest in the country. It is recognized as one of the most well-planned, infrastructure developed and safe cities of Indonesia in the ecological relation. The first mentions of settlements in the territory of Pekanbaru belong to the 17th century. Here, larger settlement of Senapalan, which inhabitants were forced to leave the former places of residence because of adverse climatic conditions, was transferred to the small fishing village of Pekanbaru. The name Senapalan was assigned to the new settlement and the area surrounding him. Senapalan is considered a prototype of Pekanbaru, while both toponyms, both Senapalan and Pekanbaru, remain behind two districts of the modern city. In the 1720th year, Senapalan was included in the territory of a neogenic Sultanate Siak, from the first days of the existence, which got to vassal dependence on the Malayan Sultanate Johor. Jacob Mossel, the Governor-General of the Netherlands East Indies in 1750, 61 years, who achieved control over Pekanbaru. In the first half of the 18th century, Johor appeared in a condition of military confrontation with the Netherlands East Indian Company, which considerably expanded the influence in this part of the Malay archipelago by then. At the same time, ignoring claims of the courts for sovereignty over Siak, Duchess entered a direct relationship with the governor of the last and achieved from him permission to construction in close proximity to Sinapolan of a large fort which was used by colonialists till 1756. After a series of unsuccessful clashes with Duchess in 1746, the Sultan Jokoro was forced to sign with them the peace treaty under the terms of which Nog was transferred sovereignty over Siak. At the same time, the Siakski governors who kept high extent of self-government started active economic and infrastructure development of Sinapolan. In the 1768 years here in particular, the Sultan Palace so far didn't remain, and the large mosque were built. In 1775 the capital of a sultanate was officially transferred to Sinapolan that served as an additional incentive of development of the city. The first of the Siakski sultans who moved to Sinapolan, Abdul Jalil Alamuddin Shah. Seeking for expansion of foreign economic relations, I tried to organize a large regional fair here, however I didn't achieve success. After the same, as at the beginning of the 1788 years to his son Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was succeeded to equip, at last, a fair. It gained so important commercial value for this part of Sumatra that on June 23, 1784 the settlement at the initiative of Council of Local Tribal Elders was renamed into Pekanbaru. Literally, a new fair. Pekan, fair, Baru, new. On June 23 it is considered day of foundation of the city of Pekanbaru and it is noted as an official city holiday here. After bankruptcy and elimination of Noik in 1798 of Pekanbaru, as well as all possession of the company, passed under direct control of the government of the Netherlands subdued by this moment by Napoleonic France. However, the occupation of the Netherlands East Indies by Great Britain seeking not to allow transition of colony to France which followed in 1811 significantly weakened the Netherlands' influence on Sumatra. As a result, the Dutches who returned themselves colony in 1816 had to establish anew the power over Siak and in particular over Pekanbaru, which lost by then the capital status, however still having great trade and infrastructure value. At the same time, the administration of the British colonial possession in Southeast Asia sometime kept claims for some Sumatranski territories owing to what the first attempt of restoration of control over Siak made by the Netherlands in the 1848 years was unsuccessful. In the 1858 years of Pekanbaru it appeared in the territory of the Vitrisiakski conflict caused by dynastic fight of Sultan Sharif Ismail. Sharif Ismail with one of the relatives. The formations of Bajiski mercenaries involved with the Sultan led by British Adam Wilson. English Adam Wilson gradually became threat for his own power. In 1856 Sharif Ismail was forced to ask for the help Dutches who, having crushed Wilson's militia in 1858, forced the governor to signing of the contract on entry of a sultanate into structure of the Netherlands East Indies when maintaining its formal sovereignty. Thus Pekanbaru came to be under the colonial power again. As a part of the Netherlands' possession, the city kept importance, first of all, as large trade point. Navigation conditions of the Siak River provided stable navigable communication with the Strait of Malacca. Besides, from the middle of the 19th century of Pekanbaru became the large center of production of coffee, and since the beginning of the 20th century, production of natural rubber and the coal industry. At the same time, the power of Siaxki sultans over the city gradually became more and more nominal. Real administrative functions were carried out by the representatives of the Netherlands colonial administration, who had till 1931 a position the resident assistant after the controller. At the end of February 1942, Pekanbaru was occupied by armed forces of Japan during operation in the Netherlands East Indies. The city, as well as all territory of Sumatra, was carried to a zone of occupation of the 25th Army, and on March 8, 1942 became the center of the district headed by the Japanese military and administrative managing director. At the same time, the nominal power over this territory, the Sultan Siaka, for whom Japanese kept ceremonial powers, still possessed. Seeking to strengthen rear infrastructure on Sumatra and in particular, to expand possibilities of export of local raw materials through the Pacific water area, Japanese developed construction of the branch line 220 km long connecting Pekanbaru to the northern terminal of the Sumatranski Railroad operating by then. On building, about 6,500 Dutch and British prisoners of war and also more than card-dependent Indonesians were involved. By the time of completion of works in the summer of 1945, died not less than a third of Europeans and more than a half of Indonesians was killed. The beginning of development in territories of oil fields, adjacent to Pekanbaru, and creation in the city of infrastructure of oil processing belongs to the period of the Japanese occupation continuing till August 1945. After declaration on August 17, 1945 of the Independent Republic of Indonesia, the Sultan Siaka Sharif Qasim II I declared inclusion of the possession in the structure of the new state, thus modern state ownership of Pekanbaru was officially issued. At the end of 1945, the beginning of 1946, in the city the main structures of the new power were created. On May 17, 1946, Pekanbaru, the status of the city municipality accountable to the governor of Sumatra, was given. Finding of Pekanbaru as a part of the Republic of Indonesia was confirmed with the Indonesian-Dutch Lingatsky Agreement on November 12, 1946. However, during the military operations which began in the summer of 1947, the city was occupied by the Netherlands troops and was kept by them till January 1948, when the Indonesian sovereignty over this territory was fixed by a Rinvilsky Agreement. In 1956, Pekanbaru received the status of city unit as a part of the neogenic province, the Central Sumatra. After the partition of this province in 1957 on the province the Western Sumatra, Jambi and Rio kept the similar status as a part of the last. On January 20, 1959, I became the administrative center of Rio, having received at the same time the status of city municipality, kept so far at minor changes of the corresponding administrative term. Its city is located in the central part of the island of Sumatra, approximately in 120 km from its east coast coming to the Strait of Malacca, and approximately in 200 km from the western coast coming to the Indian Ocean, at distance about 55 km to the north from the equator. Occupies the space of 632.26 km. Has the irregular shape which is slightly extended in the direction from the southwest on the northeast. Is in the central part of the province of Rio. From the northeast part, the territory of the city borders on the territory of the district of Siak, with southwest, on the territory of the district of Kampar. The city there is on both riverbanks Siak, mostly on southern and flat places of the boggy area. Height of the urban area above sea level fluctuates from 5 to 50 meters, in the central part doesn't exceed 11 meters. For 65% of the urban area the bias of the area doesn't exceed 5 degrees, for 30% fluctuates within 20 degrees and only approximately for 5% of the area exceeds 20 degrees. Under the territory of the city in the direction from the northwest on the southeast there passes the zone of a geological fault. Synclinality, an anticlinal folds which formation belongs to an average Miocene are characteristic of east, northeast and southwest areas. The main waterway of the city is the Siak River, and about 160 km is lower on a current falling into the Strait of Malacca. Its width within the city is about 100 meters, average depth on a waterway -8 meters. Across the territory of Pekanbaru also several inflows of Siaka, the small Umbansari, Erkitan, Simban, Setukal, Pengambang, Ukui, Sego, Sanapalan, Lima, Tampan and Sao rivers proceed. The climate is equatorial damp. A rainy season, from September to April. The average monthly amount of precipitation fluctuates from 178 to 15, relative humidity, from 46% to 100%, at the same time average daily indicators, within 79–83%. The most damp and rainy months, December and January, the most droughty, July and August. Average temperature, about 27.2 C, an average monthly minimum, from 21 C to 23 C, an average maximum, from 30 C to 33 C. And the ecological plan of Pekanbaru is one of the most safe among the large cities not only Sumatra but also all Indonesia. Despite the proximity of oil fields and wildfires which are regularly occurring in the neighboring regions of Sumatra, local authorities manage to support a similar state at the expense of a number of the large-scale programs directed to environment protection. Historically the city was subject to floods, however by the end of the 20th century their intensity was considerably reduced due to acceptance of a complex of hydrotechnical measures. Within Pekanbaru 20 sites subject to seasonal flooding remain, however their total area is no more than 1% of the urban area. So, any of 7 floods which occurred here in 2009 didn't assume a scale of city natural disaster, their consequences were overcome by forces of the regional authorities, without attraction of municipal forces and means. The population of Pekanbaru, following the results of a national census of 2010, is 897,768 people, of them 456,386 men and 441,382 women. Population density -1420 people on km. In the city 213,795 families, the average number of family, more than 4 people are registered. Growth rates of the population of the city are exclusively high. So, in 15 years from 1995 to 2010 its number increased more than twice. In 1995, 441,464 persons. At the same time growth for the last year of the period was more than 11.8%. The population of the city differs in a big ethnic variety. The relative majority, more than 37%, belongs to nationality to a Minangkabau. Malayans, Javanese, Bataki, representatives of other indigenous people of Indonesia, and also quite significant amount of Chinese also live in the city. The vast majority of residents is made by Sunni Muslims. There is a quantity of Christians, both Protestants and Catholics. First of all, among Batak, and also Buddhists, is a part of the Chinese community. In the city there are 588 mosques and 436 Muslim chapels located in various public places, and also 55 Protestant and 37 Catholic churches, 9 Buddhist and 8 Hindu temples, only 1133 buildings of religious appointment. Local Muslims have reputation enough zealous believers. The city cathedral mosque, Sheikh Bakruddin's Mosque, belongs to number of the largest in Indonesia. Practically all citizens are fluent in a state language of the country, Indonesian. At the same time, many of them, in particular, to a Minangkabau in life, actively use the native language. Pekanbaru, the administrative center of the province of Rio. The territory of the city is allocated in an administrative unit of the second level, municipality. 2. That, which in turn is divided into 12 areas. Ikekam. Thanes. Is a part of areas. There are 58 administrative units of the lowest level, settlements and villages. As of September 2013, the administrative status of Pekanbaru as city municipality is defined by the law of the Republic of Indonesia on Local Government No. 32 of 2004. Administrative division is regulated by the decree of the City Administration No. 4 of 2003, before Pekanbaru was subdivided into 8 areas and respectively 45 settlements and villages. The city is headed by the mayor who, as well as mayors of other Indonesian cities, according to the law of the Republic of Indonesia No. 32 of 2004, is elected citizens during the direct elections held time in 5 years. It was earlier in a directive way appointed provincial administration. Along with the mayor, his deputy, the vice mayor, is elected. During the next elections of the mayor and vice mayor, which took place in 2011, to the first post Ferdis was elected. To the second, the Ayachakiadi. Both started execution of functions on January 26, 2012. The legislature in the city is carried out by the City Council of National Representatives in the list of 45 deputies, which is also elected by inhabitants by direct elections and having 5-year powers. A Speaker of the Council created following the results of the elections which took place in April 2009 is Desmianto. Deputies created 8 fractions representing 10 political parties. 2 fractions are integrated, representing 2 parties. According to the official site of city administration, division of a board of the coat of arms into 5 parts symbolizes 5 principles of Pancasila, the state ideology of the Republic of Indonesia. Colors of 4 quarters display colors of national flag. Branches of rice and tea symbolize prosperity and providing the population with food and clothes. The chain surrounding heart of the coat of arms, national unity. A wheel with wings and board heart dynamic development. An oak and a rubber tree which stylized images are in heart of the coat of arms, an important industrial and commercial role of the city. The spear represented vertically in the central part of a board the heroism of citizens shown in fight for independence of the homeland. The horizontal line crossing the coat of arms in the central part symbolizes the equator passing near Pekanbaru. On a yellow tape in the lower part of a board an inscription in Indonesian of Kota Pekanbaru, City of Pekanbaru. Pekanbaru has important economic value within not only Sumatra, but also all Indonesia. The local economy develops very dynamically, a basis of her real sector are oil processing and chemical industry. Services sector according to the Indonesian standards is exclusively developed, the trade sector differs in high activity. Besides, some part of the urban area is in intensive agricultural use. Dynamic development of local economy, in particular, at the expense of the industrial and commercial industries, is involved to the city by the growing streams of capital investments from other regions of the country and from abroad. In May 2013, Pekanbaru was recognized as the optimum city of Indonesia for investment. In 2010, the volume of the local gross regional product (GRP) was more than 36.75 trillion Indonesian rupees, more than $4 billion at an average annual course. At annual growth rates about 9%, that almost by 1.5 times exceeds the corresponding national indicator. Inflation in 2010 is recorded at the level of 6.8%, unemployment at the level of 10.2%. Both indicators are approximately 1/3 higher than nationwide. The industry, almost exclusively processing, provides more than 20% of city VRP. Citizens, about 7.3% of the working population, whose most part is employees small, less than 20 workers. The enterprises are handicraftsmen whose activity is qualified as industrial or engaged in this sector. On 11 registered in the city large, more than 100 occupied. The industrial enterprises, as of 2009, 4274 persons, and on 25 averages. From 20 to 100 occupied. The enterprises minus 954 persons worked. Basis of the city industry is oil processing, for which raw materials arrive from the nearby fields belonging to a number of the largest in Indonesia. In this regard, quite often appears in the Indonesian and some foreign media of Pekanbaru under name Oil Capital of Indonesia. The most part of oil processing capacities belong to the Chevron Pacific Indonesia Company, a subsidiary of the American Raw Corporation, Chevron, which headquarters is in the city, or the Indonesian National Oil Company, Pertamina. In the city there are also enterprises of the chemical, textile, food, Drewubabativishi industry. In spite of the fact that agriculture provides less than 1% of volume of RP, quantity occupied in him is rather big minus people. More than 4% of the working population. As of 2009 in agricultural use there were hectares of the city earth, mainly in suburban areas. About 14,000 hectares occupied jellied fields, about 12,000 hectares, not irrigated sites, and about 2,000 hectares, the sites provided with an artificial irrigation. The main cultures are cassava. A harvest for 2010 4480 tons. Vegetables. Eggplants minus 3195 tons, cucumbers minus 3000 tons, water minus 2760 tons, haricot minus 2016 tons, spinach minus 2000 tons. Sweet potato 273 tons. And fruit. Rambutan minus 282 tons, water apples minus 108 tons, durians minus 104 tons. Also olive palm tree is grown up. Rather actively the livestock production and poultry farming develop. As of 2010 the local livestock of cows made 7993 heads, pigs minus 14792 heads, goats minus 4829 heads, buffalo s minus 735 heads. Within a year cows, 1149 pigs and 56 buffaloes were chucked in meat and skin. Hens was 11,451,312. Including 11,171,196 broilers and 92174 layers. Ducks house minus 8747, musky ducks minus 2690. Within a year 76-78 tons of chicken meat, 17 tons of duck's flesh, 24,882,962 chicken and 823,803 eggs were produced. The fish breeding and, to a lesser extent, fishery practices. In 2010 896 tons of adjustable and 76 tons of wild fish were caught. The main adjustable types Ligushevi clarievisum, Epangasius, the Nile tilapia gurum, Shrade Ligushevi clarievisum, Epangasius. The sphere of trade is one of the most significant sectors of urban economy, providing more than 20% of RP and a considerable share of employment. Together with hotel and restaurant business minus 35.7% of the working population. The total amount of trade operations in 2010 was more than 8 trillion rupees. About $825 million at an average annual course. Retail trade in the city is carried out through trade enterprises of all types. Shops of modern type coexist with traditional markets and benches. In total under outlets 666 hectares of the urban area are taken away. The city is rather actively involved in the foreign trade operations. In 2010 their total amount was $216 million of the USA at the equal volume of export and import, on $108 million. Very significant increase in volumes in comparison with previous year is recorded. In 2009 $40 million of export and $66 million of export. The main countries to which during this period the export goods made in the city came are China, Singapore, the USA, Brazil, India. Import arrived mainly from China, Austria, Malaysia, the USA, Taiwan, Singapore. In process of the industrial and commercial development, Pekanbaru turns also into important financial center. As of 2009 representations 33 Indonesian state and private bank and also a number of foreign bank structures worked in the city. Economic and infrastructure development of the city in combination with his rich ethnocultural traditions promotes inflow of tourists. The city authorities make special efforts for involvement of visitors from abroad, staking, first of all, on citizens of the adjacent countries. In 2011, the city was visited by 25227 foreign tourists, more than a half of all foreigners who visited the province of Rio, that is 31% more than an indicator of previous year. More than 81% from visitors is made by citizens of neighboring states of ASEAN, generally Malaysia and Singapore. Pekanbaru has very developed hotel infrastructure. Here, as of 2011, there are 95 hotels on 46 15 numbers and 67 68 beds. Besides, there is a large number of restaurants and entertaining institutions. Pekanbaru is one of the most important infrastructure centers of Sumatra, serving as the largest transit point of freight and passenger traffic, in particular, ferry, between Singapore and Malaysia on the one hand, both southern and east regions of Indonesia, with another. The network of highways connects the city with all large settlements of the island. The highway connecting the city with port is of particular importance. Located on the bank of the Strait of Malacca and being the one largest cargo and oil sea terminals of Southeast Asia. Total length of the highways passing directly within the city is 2,769.2 km. Extent of roads of national value is 77.4 km, provincial value -96.1 km, city value -2,578.2 km. 53.8% of highways have an asphalt covering 77% a gravelly covering and 35.5% a soil covering. 47.09% of highways are considered as completely serviceable, 21.55% being in satisfactory condition and 31.6% being in critical condition. Railway communication is absent. The railway line laid during the Netherlands colonization, as well as the branch and finished during the Japanese occupation, are abandoned as unsuitable to operation. In 2010, the Indonesian Kai State Railway Company, Kai Kereta Api Indonesia, announced plans of restoration of railway communication of Pekanbaru with a number of the settlements of Sumatra, in particular, due to reconstruction and completion of the mentioned abandoned lines. As of 2011 in the city, 147,984 four-wheel vehicles are registered. The main public transport of the city are regular buses and share taxis. In 2010, work on start of lines of high-speed bus transport is begun. Directly within the city there is an international airport, Sultan Sharif Qasim II, and accepting flights of the Indonesian, Singapore and Malaysian airlines. It is called in honor of the last Sultan Siaka. Sultan Sharif Qasim II takes the third place on passenger turnover volume among the airports of Sumatra. 5 million passengers a year. However, repeatedly admitted to the best of them on quality of service. Following the results of the modernization of the airport made in 2012-2013, the additional terminal was open, the runway was extended up to 2620 meters, possibilities of takeoff and landing of Boeing-737 planes are provided. In the territory of the airport there is a base of the Air Force of Indonesia. Actively river transportations with use of opportunities of local river port practice. The main long-distance river routes are tied on the thinking port, joining them to sea traffic flows. Northern and southern parts of Pekanbaru are connected by two operating road bridges through the Siak River. Esha Odin Bridge is almost completely built, however as of May 2013 his commissioning is postponed because of a number of sub-quality work. For December 2013 completion of construction of the fourth bridge through Siak within Pekanbaru is planned. The total area of the housing estate exceeds 10.9 km. What makes more than 17% of all territory of the city and more than 73% of his built-up territory. In total in the city there are more than 200,000 houses and apartments, average living in one dwelling about 5 people. Inhabited massifs are located rather evenly, is the most dense than the built-up areas of Tampan, Bukit Raya and Mapoindame, the smallest share of inhabited massifs in areas Rambe and Rambe Pesisar. Despite significant progress of city social and economic development, the problem of providing citizens with housing remains very sharp owing to exclusively high growth rates of the population. Providing Pekanbaru with the electric power is carried out by regional structure of the Indonesian State Energy Company. Perusahaan Listrik Negara. Serving the province of Rio, which headquarters is directly in the city. The situation in this sphere to the Indonesian measures is very safe. Electricity provided 98.7% of the population, that is 1.5 times higher than the national level. 65% of the population. And more than twice exceed an average value on the province of Rio. 42.7% of the population. Infrastructure of street lighting extends. In 2010 function 24877 lamps, searchlights and lighting devices of other type is 1492 more than in previous year. By 2017 the quantity is planned to be brought to 27577 units. However, according to forecasts of local authorities, rapid growth of number of consumers. For comparison, 199,000 in 2008 and 315,000 in 2010. In combination with exhaustion of opportunities of the power plants serving the city can result in some power shortage already in the near future. Against the background of the overall quite favorable picture of social and economic development of the city, water supply is in extremely actually critical condition. Sharp increase in an expanse of water resources at the economic purposes in combination to rapid growth of the population leads to rapid reduction of access for citizens to clear drinking water. So for needs of the population, the profile regional structure in 2010 allocated only 4,257,030 cubic meters of drinking water, more than double reduction in comparison with an indicator of previous year. 9,311,520 cubic meters. As a result, she provided only 7.9% of consumers. 14254 households. Of the remaining 11.3% of consumers. Households. In 2009. As of 2011, local authorities don't manage to take measures for correction of this situation. As of 2011 in the city, more than 2.2 thousand tons of municipal solid waste were daily produced. Timely export was provided only concerning 40% of this volume, that approximately corresponds to a national indicator. Systematic cleaning are made only on 23 city streets and a number of socially important objects, in particular in hospitals. The regular structure of Profile City Service makes about 632 people. It has 11 trucks for garbage removal. Storage of municipal solid waste are carried out on the city ground of Fads or Moyer. Mwera Open way. The discovery of capacity planned for 2012 for underground waste disposal is postponed. On 4 points, processing of organic waste in compost is carried out. Vegetation of different types occupies about 30% of the urban area. A considerable part is made by forest and shrubby massifs of natural origin. Besides, there are 23 artificial green massifs with a total area of 28 hectares and also the tree nursery which is at the disposal of the Rio University. The areas of Tampan and Marpoindame are most planted trees and shrubs. The regular structure of Profile City Service makes 157 people. It has 8 units of the special equipment. In the city there are 6 municipal cemeteries. Tampan, Pianshaki, Oriental Carpet, Ambansari, Jalan Queenie and Jalan Locomotive. As of 2012, 3 last are announced by completely filled. At the same time, the city authorities aren't able to allocate additional sites for burials yet. The most difficult in this plan is the situation in east part of the city. Very high level of literacy is characteristic of urban population. As of 2010, 99.87% of inhabitants are competent is more senior than 10 years. At the same time, 56% of the population of the specified age group have no formal education or the official certificate on such education. 15.38% have the certificate on the termination of elementary school. 1-6 classes, children from 7 to 12 years. 19.57 about the termination of high school of the first step. 7-9 classes, from 13 to 15 years. 39.83 about the termination of high school of the second step. 10-12 classes, from 16 to 18 years. Our technical school, 4.56, the bachelor's degree, and 8.1, the diploma of master or higher academic degree. In 2010 in the city there were 258 elementary schools. 1 school on 396 children of the corresponding age. 108 high schools of the first step. 1 school on 349 children of the corresponding age. 94 high schools of the second step and technical schools. 1 establishment on 478 children of the corresponding age. At elementary schools 1 teacher is the share of 20 pupils, at high schools of the first step of 13. 5 pupils, at high schools of the second step of 11.5 pupils. In the city there are 36 state and private universities, including 5 universities, the largest of which, the Rio University. Founded in 1962. The city public library, opened in 2008, is one of the largest in Indonesia, and by the size and quality of the building is recognized as the first in the country. There are several museums, the largest of which, the State Museum of the Province of Rio, Sangnilo Utama. Besides, 21 cultural institutions of various types, including societies and clubs of fans of certain arts, national traditions, and are registered. In Pekanbaru various folklore events which taking into account multinationality of urban population, is very various as systematically held. In particular, the city is the main ethnocultural center of the ethnic Malayans living on Sumatra, and in the 2010 years local authorities started various programs for preservation and development of the Malayan cultural and spiritual heritage. The significant progress within the first decade of the 21st century was characteristic of a situation in the field of healthcare. While the expected life expectancy of citizens by calculations of 2011 makes 70.5 years, for 10 months of last national indicator, the level of infantile mortality is less than 4 per mils. Nationwide -26.2 per mils. In the city there are 22 hospitals and 254 polyclinics. Besides, the network of points of medical care of various level functions. 19 medical aid stations of a wide profile. The so-called centers of public health care. Headed by the diplomate doctor, which personnel render medical aid not less than in 8 directions and 33 auxiliary first aid posts, which are headed, as a rule, by the paramedic or the nurse and helping in smaller quantity of the directions. For 2010 in the city 979 diplomate doctors who are working in various medical institutions or having private practice, and also 9097 health workers with secondary vocational education are registered. Thus, one doctor is the share of 917 people, that by 3.5 times exceeds national level. One doctor on 3472 persons. An even distribution of medical institutions and medical personnel across the territory of the city remains a serious problem. So if around Mapo and May there are 6 hospitals, 68 doctors and 300 people of junior medical staff are registered, then in almost equal to after the population the region of Tanay area of hospitals aren't available in general, 14 doctors and 200 people of junior medical staff are registered. In Pekanbaru about 10 local city and provincial periodicals and also a number of the central newspapers and magazines and periodicals of other regions of the country are issued. Some local newspapers and magazines in particular have stands of Pekanbaru, Rio settlements, the Koran by Rio, have also electronic versions. Transfer of 2 provincial TV channels, Rio of a Televisa and Ria Canal. And also most the central Indonesian TV channels and some Malaysian TV channels is carried up. Not less than 19 local radio stations are registered. In the city, as of 2010, 300 various sports societies, clubs and sections are registered. There are 117 sports constructions of different types, including 4 stadiums. The largest of the last is the multi-purpose main stadium Rio, and constructed in 2012 and accommodating 43923 viewers, the 3rd largest stadium of Indonesia and the largest stadium of Sumatra. On there took place national sports competitions of Indonesia 2012 and Islamic Plays of Solidarity of 2013. One more multi-purpose city stadium, Rumbay, accommodates 200,000 viewers, also hosts national sports competitions and is home stadium of City Football Club, Pekanbaru. Following the results of the 7 provincial Olympic Games Rio, which were held in October, 2011, the Pekanbaru team took in the overall ranking the third place among 12 teams of districts and the cities of the province participating in competitions, having won 24 gold, 34 silver and 43 bronze medals. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.